Hi everyone, welcome to the AIA Hong Kong chapter channel and watch this video about how to prepare the WELL AP exam version 1. I'm Derrick Leong, an architectural designer with WELL AP and LEED AP credentials. So today, there are 3 key chapters. First, I'll talk about an overview of the WELL standard, exam format and result. Then I will show you guys what are the key study materials for the exam. Last but not least, I'll share several study tips about how to study the exam effectively. So first one, the exam. What are WELL and WELL AP? According to the International Well Building Institute, the IWBI, WELL is a building standard that marries best practice in design and construction with evidence-based health and wellness interventions. So the one to implement it is the WELL AP, the WELL Accredited Professional. One thing that is also good to know is that there are 3 specified building types in the WELL certification, which are new and existing buildings, new and existing interiors, and core and shell. Launched in 2014, the WELL building standard has been rapidly gaining recognition among developers and architects. According to the current data, there are about 5,700 WELL AP worldwide and about 4,100 projects that are WELL certified, pre-certified, or registered in the database. And we can notice the WELL standard is becoming increasingly popular in Asia and Europe in these 2 years. By this month, May 2020, in mainland China, there are in total 530 projects registered or certified, and the number is constantly growing. While within Hong Kong, there are currently 24 projects in the database. Some of the certified examples are 3 Garden Road in Central and 1 Taikoo Place. So if you are interested on which building are certified or registered, there is a WELL building online database at this website. It is a useful search engine, but in my opinion, it's not really related to the exam content itself. And one thing to share is that the IWBI is having discount in exam registration recently. So if you want to take the exam by end of this year, you may want to check this link. Okay, so what's inside the WELL building standard version 1? So these are the most basic ideas of the whole standard. There are 7 concepts, which are air, water, nourishment, light, fitness, comfort, and might. And there are also innovation credits in the scorecard. And these 7 concepts are translated into requirements to our architectural design. It really looks into the health and wellness of a human being. So therefore, the way how each concept works is interesting. The standard actually focuses on body systems impacted by the building design. So while you're studying, you will find like it seems you're reading a book about biology or chemistry. And let's talk about exam format. There are 100 multiple choice questions and need to be finished in 2 hours. It is a closed book exam. Normally, 1 item is correct in the multiple choice questions. There are both scored and unscored questions. And one of the good things is that the exam is computer-based, so you are able to change answers, skip, and flag questions for later review. The exam full mark is at 200, and 170 is the pass line. You'll receive the exam result via email on the same day. So we go to the second chapter, the study materials. There are 2 key study materials that has to be read carefully. The WELL certification guidebook at the left and the WELL building standard at the right. The WELL certification guidebook is actually a relatively short handbook to talk about project registration, documentation requirements, and performance verification, etc. And it's really important. I noticed some candidates would forget to study this book, so I put it at the first material as the first material here. And the IWBI constantly updates the content of the book, so it's good to keep an eye on this link to ensure you're reading the latest version. The second material, which is the most important one, is the WELL building standard. It includes data explanation of project types, pilot program, and the items related to WELL certification. So most importantly, it outlines the WELL features matrix, the 7 concepts, and 105 features. And same as the certification guidebook, IWBI will constantly update version of it, so keep an eye on the link. Let's take a close look of the feature. In each feature page, there are 4 key parts to study. The first one, intent of the feature. The second one, body systems related to the feature. The third one, key requirements. And the fourth, specific building types applied by that feature. So some people may ask, are there any mock tests, flashcards, or materials other than these 2 books I mentioned? The answer is yes, but most of them are not free to access. So in my point of view, if you have sufficient time to go through 2 books in detail, and you're keeping a good pace to study them, I think it's not really necessary to buy those extra study materials. So kind of to summarize, I think these 2 books are the key study materials, and those are my recommendations. The third chapter, exam tips. So some general tips. First, I think it's essential to keep a good pace to review each feature. So in my case, I think given that you put some time to go through materials every day before or after work, 1.5 to 2 months is already quite sufficient to study this exam. My second and third tips are to commit to your exam schedule. Try not to change it and treat it as a key deadline. Also, review those 105 features concept by concept. Keep the order, and it will help you easily reference back to the information during your exam. My fourth tip is to memorize the cutoff number of preconditions for each concept. So memorize those numbers so that when you see them in your exam questions, for example, if the question mentions feature 14, then at first sight, you will easily recall it is an optimization rather than a precondition, and you will answer the question correctly. The fifth one, pay more attention to the types of pollutants or material, like metals in the key requirement, comparatively not much to the numbers. So taking feature 1 as an example again, it talks about standards for chemical substance. Rather than memorizing all information, you should pay most of your attention to the types, which are like carbon monoxide, ozone here, etc. For the numbers, memorize them if you have time, but they are less important. My last tips in this slide is that not all the questions in the exam are scored. There are actually 15 unscored questions, so you don't need to get discouraged if you encounter like 1 or 2 really difficult questions. Another thing I find is useful is to align the requirements between LEED, BD plus C, and WELL. The 2 system actually has many things in common. For example, the feature 1 of air concept in WELL is somehow similar to EQ credit in LEED. And this kind of alignment can help you quickly familiar with the other if you have taken one of these 2 exams. Take my case as example. I had my LEED AV exam around 1.5 months before the WELL AP exam. I find this memorizing method, which kind of connecting these two systems, helped me easily understand the intent behind like WELL system and remember the requirements. It actually saves me a lot of time. And if you're interested in this method, I would suggest you to have the lead exam first, as it's more similar to how we usually think about a building works, like site design, building design, etc. So once you are familiar with the lead system, it's much easier for you to understand the features in the WELL system and memorize them. My final tips today is to make good use of the appendix in the WELL building standard. Sometimes people tend to think appendix is only for information that's not that important, but it's not true in this case. The appendix of the book is actually a collection of summaries for different requirements. So reading them after studying the feature matrix can help you reinforce your understanding to the system, and it's good for your exam. For example, Table A1 in the appendix summarized items defined as high touch surface. It was actually one of the questions asked in my exam. Another example is the table summarizing verification methods of all features in the appendix. It's easy to reference during study and it's really useful. So that's all of my sharing today. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Thank you and good luck to you all.